Welcome to the Corporate Learning Network. I'm Ben Mueller. I have with me today Madhu Kiran, Chief Talent Officer for Uni Talent Management and former General Manager of Talent Management and Leadership Development in one of the world's leading automotive companies. Welcome, Madhu.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here.
Fantastic. So while you were instituting this leadership development program at this leading automotive company, what were some of the most important trends you witnessed while fostering these new leaders? And what issues do you believe trainers should focus on most at their own organizations?
Yeah, that would be an interesting choice of the question, because the leadership trends over a period of time have been changing right from the days where it could be political leadership, or even the business leadership, or even for that matter sports leadership. The leadership has a different dimensions, and it's been changing. And this change has also been with respect to the different geographies. The geography which we're currently talking about, it's mostly concentrated in Middle Eastern countries. The good thing about the Middle East countries, where I was handling this particular piece of role, what you're talking about, the people were very receptive to the idea of learning and development, and especially leadership development. The industrial leadership is moving from the older generation to the newer generation. People are looking up to the different parts of the world as to see what is that they want to do, and how do they want to take that forward in their businesses. And also what I noticed there was the peer learning, what we call it as peer learning, the peer assisted learning, or the leaders teaching leaders, which was already in existence. How it happened was, culturally these countries, the senior person is always respected, and people go to him asking for various guidances in life. So thereby the leader had already assumed that particular role. So it was much easier for us to make it formalized and take it forward.
In what specific ways do you utilize the key experiences of leaders when you had created this leadership handbook at this leading automotive company?
Okay, coming to this leadership, the handbook, and this had actually twofold importance. The first one being why this was created and how this was created. Why as a process, and how as to what needs to be done post-process. I hear a lot of organizations, a lot of CFOs have this issue. When people leave the organization, they feel the talent is taking away the knowledge about the organization, going out of it. Especially this is so very true at the senior level. So we had to capture something, we had to create something which will sustain itself over a long period of time. So the whole idea of this handbook was to help the existing as well as the future leaders in the organization to take a very active, autonomous, critical, reflective, and collaborative roles. And what was leader gaining out of this? Many times old habits die hard. Despite the fact that we want to learn newer things, some of our older habits don't die that easily, and say, let's do, if not today, let's do it tomorrow, give it another shot. Okay. So we said, there has to be a motivational factor for every one of us to do something. So what were those motivational factors? We said people who contribute mostly to this knowledge portal, or to this reflective learning process, or to the handbook, would get to have a one-on-one meeting with the CEO or the head of the business or the HR head to just generally talk about their perspective about leadership or their perspective about managing a business. So that in itself was an added fillip to somebody probably in a mid-level leadership position, saying that, okay, I get to meet somebody very senior, and that in itself is a good thing for me. Or there was also like a quarterly reward. The quarterly reward was not a monetary reward. So what we would do is, somebody, if they would contribute to a large extent to the repository, we would send out a mail to their juniors, people reporting to them, as well as to the family, in the immediate family, the spouse, saying that, thanks for letting your husband work here, or and do these good things in life. Many organizations I see today, while they do a lot of the talent mobility, amongst their various business units, but the process and the way it happens is clearly missing. So one has to come out with clarity, the clarity has to be there in terms of, what the talent mobility is all about in an organization. And also, finding an employee development or an employee talent development model which is mostly accepted globally, but keeping in mind the cultural, the vulnerabilities or cultural nuances of a local place would be a challenge again.
Sure.
Being sensitive from the, let's say, for an organization, being sensitive about not generalizing the process, talent management process or talent development process per se. Each country is different. Each culture is different. One has to understand that, and one has to put that much more effort in letting the talent management function know that while you create one global holistic perspective, there has to be a certain amount of flexibility to include the localization. That has to be very important. And the future of the employee development will be for helping people, for being part of the team. It's like, it's taking part becomes that much more important than taking charge. As a leader, you don't take charge going forward. You have to take part in the whole process. You have to take part in the business. One has to understand this difference, and it's very important for L&D professionals or the talent management professionals to sensitize the managers, saying that it is not about taking charge of the business. It is more in terms of taking part in the business, and also along with that, take the team, help them grow along with that. It's more of what I call it as an interdependence. Reciprocal relatedness is the word I use more often than not, because the more you take your team along, the team reciprocates in a positive way, so that your work becomes easier, the organization's work becomes easier, and as a whole we all grow together.